I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Angelo and my friendship, because I've never seen a guy people go after more than Angelo. But wait, I think that's now me. Remember when he said he's going to pass the torch to me? I think he passed the blowtorch to me. And what's happening? Without further ado, our dear friend, Angelo Cataldi, now joins us here on a very hot national football show. Boy, I'll tell you, man. Angelo, you got quite a market, man. These Philadelphia guys, man, I mean, you say anything, they get their panties in a bind, they get a little upset. I mean, unbelievable, man.
Listen, if they're talking about you, you're winning. You understand? The only thing that can hurt you, Dan, or anyone in your business is people ignoring you. Let them talk. And one thing, it took me a long time. It took me decades into my career to realize that all these attacks on me were paying bills. And when that happened, I would encourage it and I would engage at every opportunity, which in effect would help the other guy too. Feuds, I had a whole chapter in my book on all the feuds I had. And I had to cut out a ton of them. I had feuds with everyone. And the thing with me was, I wasn't trying to make friends with any of those people.
No.
They were basically a means to an end. They gave me attention. I gave them attention. Don't let it bother you, Dan. No. Whatever they called you. Here's what Mike did at one point, did send me some indication that he had some negative thoughts about you. And I said to him what I said to everyone. All I can gauge is my dealings with the guy. And Dan Sileo to me is not only one of the absolute best talk show hosts, he's one of the best truth tellers in the business. And my experience with him has been as positive as it's been with anyone in the business, past, present, or probably future. So don't let any of it bother you, Dan. You know your stuff, man.
You know what? You know what, Angelo? I guess somebody told me this, and Tony Bruno told me this too. When you're successful in like the way you and I do business, because like you said, we kept people in our business close to us for like content. These guys were content for my show. These guys were not, I pick and choose my friends. My friends don't get a chance to choose me. I pick my friends. And I have always done this. I mean, the things that are posted about me and said about me, none of it's true. It's never been, but you know, you can't fight some of the stuff. And it's taken me, like you said, all these years for me just to go, hey, you know what? I can't do anything about it, so I'm not going to outrun it. If you want to call me that, you're just going to have to watch my show. And everybody in here knows now. I mean, we get everybody on, and everyone knows that is my friend, knows the truth. So I'm with you now. And so when somebody says that to me, I always find that as the loudest guy in the room is usually the weakest guy in the room. And so that to me is how my philosophy has always been in our business, because again, Angelo, everyone's got an angle on trying to get around the corner. And you and I have always said, I've had a sandbox of friends in broadcasting. There's about 6 of them. You're one of them. And I've got them in there now. And you know what? I don't have a lot of friends outside of it because I've got a job to do. And I have so few friends in my life because then I choose it to be that way. So again, I mean, you know, I used to get upset. Did you used to get upset about it?
Yeah, for a long time. And then I realized that it was ridiculous because people were talking about me. And as long as they were pronouncing the name right, or if they were writing it correctly, they were helping me. And when I finally got to the point where I knew that, I not only embraced their negativity, I responded with it. And it was fine. Then I just left the 3 best friends I have in my life. They're 3 little kids who are my grandchildren, who I play with and love. And that's where it matters.
You bet.
The stuff is all. None of these people are going to throw themselves in front of you if a bullet's coming. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about who your friend. The family, yes. This friend stuff, it never really worked for me.
Hey, Angelo, the only thing I'm sure of is my daughter's love.
Exactly. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
The other stuff doesn't matter.
I know. That's the only thing I am dead sure of is my daughter's love for me here. So let's get into this here. I mean, I got to tell you, Angelo, these last 3 days, and I'm going to start with Howie. He ends up cutting Slate, and it looks like, according to Drew Rosenhaus's people who reps him, there's a great chance that he's coming back to play at the cornerback position. 70-30, they said, depending on what Detroit offers up, because he cleared waivers. Then he ends up giving Barkley the extension. I mean, this guy's playing the 5th quarter of the Super Bowl here. I mean, give me your thoughts on what you've seen so far with him.
I'm comparing him to the other GMs in Philadelphia, and he's running laps around him.
Oh.
These other guys, the ineptitude. I'm going to leave Dave Dombrowski out of it. It's a different game. But the two winter guys, Daryl Morey and Danny Briere, right? The Sixers and the Flyers. Morey can't get anything right. He's playing a game tonight with his 3 main stars. He's probably paying them together over $100 million this year. None of them are playing. And this guy, you can't be worse than Daryl Morey's been this year. You can't. And he very rarely speaks, so he doesn't engender any sort of interest in the team. The team is a cadaver in our city. And the only team actually deader than that is the Flyers, who haven't existed. Their body got cold about 4 years ago. And you got Danny Briere, and I know the president was a co-host of mine, Keith Jones. Danny Briere, on a team that gets no attention, is basically giving you nothing.
I got to stop, Angelo.
To tell you nothing.
I got to stop. I got to tell you guys, I asked Angelo if he had a connection for John Tortorella a couple weeks ago. He goes, "No, I don't have any connections to the Flyers. Why would I talk about them?"
No, they're irrelevant. And if you were the GM of that team and you were trying to build it back up, one of your goals is to get people thinking about it again. They're not going to. I went a couple of years ago. Keith Jones brought me in to give some media tips to Danny Briere and the other people with the Flyers. And I looked Danny right in the face. I went, Danny, because I know he's a bad talker. He doesn't talk. He's in the Ron Hextall school, which is treat everybody like crap. Don't say anything. Give nobody nothing. And I said, the next time you're going to say no comment, Danny, instead of that, put in the word screw you, because that's what you're saying to people. And boy, how great a teacher am I? He really learned a lot. But nothing. Howie Roseman is running laps. You're watching the way a guy is general manager of the team right now, who is the best general manager in sports.
Yes.
All sport. People were emailing me, oh, man, they're going to lose Zach Baum. They're going to lose Zach Baum. I went, they're not going to. Howie will not lose a player that he knows is important to the success of the team. And he won't. Slay, he's 34, a corner. Yeah, if you get him at the right price, you get him. Yeah. Otherwise, you get other options. He's handling it exactly the right way. And he's doing it in a way that just keeps interest. Oh, the Eagles haven't played a game in a month. There's still so much more interest in what they're doing than anyone else in our city. And these other guys don't understand. You just can't get through to them. And Howie Roseman is the best GM in sports right now.
Tell me this, though, Angelo. Okay. Prior to the broom closet, when Laurie put him in there, then after the broom closet, what do you think has been the difference from that guy who you had questionable moves? Then after, you're not really questioning anything, especially the last 4 years. You got 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 win, and the amount of winning you've had in 4 years. What's been the difference in your opinion?
Great question. Prior to Chip Kelly, prior to the broom closet, he wasn't that good. He made a ton of mistakes. He wasn't great at evaluating. He wasn't a lot of weaknesses. All right, comes back. You can see he's different. The pre broom closet, Howie had his own radio show on WIP on our station. He was every week was taking calls from fans, telling them who to trade, who to. It was very weird because how much can a GM say during the season? Afterwards, no, he wasn't doing that anymore. He moved back a couple of steps, and he's just gotten better and better at it the last 5 years, right? From even after, although he had a great year when they won the Super Bowl, but that was a little fluky too, with winning with your backup quarterback.
It was.
But he just, now you see, he's going with the big schools. He's going with schools that get their players ready to play in the NFL. And he's using those picks much better. And he's more aggressive than he's ever been. And he's going after the people that really can help the team. And he's not losing the players he needs. Now, I have no fear whatsoever that any of these guys that Howie has prioritized who are going out into free agency, if Howie doesn't think he can find somebody as good or better, he'll bring the guy back. He just will. He's that good at it now. And he's showing everybody. He's showing all the NFL guys how important it is to trade people because he's doing more trading than anyone else is in the league. He's just really got it figured out.
He really does. And he's just lapping, like you said. He's playing chess and everyone's playing checkers right now. And I put it out here to you too, Angelo. I think the difference from 17, and you're right, it is fluky. The 22 was a little fluky. And I'll tell you the difference now, though, and why I do think there's a window. In 17 to 22, the team and the defense, most notably, was built around mercenaries, which meant that you had to come back the following year and replace those mercenaries. But this group here, look at how many of the homegrown guys now you have on defense. Both potential corners with Cooper, if you want to move them out there. Quinion, you got N'Kobe in the middle. Look at what you got up front. You got Davis and Carter, and you got all these guys, Nolan Smith. You got more core group of guys, and I think it's easier this time to fill those gaps with free agents. That's why I think there's going to be more of a window open. Do you agree?
That's the formula, Dan. You just said it. The core, the foundation of the team is great draft picks. And then where there are holes, you fill them in with free agents, some of whom nobody even values. A year ago, Zach Bourne nobody cared. No one, he didn't register. He was a special teams guy.
He was 25th, Angelo, on the linebacker list for free agents last year.
And that guy was as big a reason as any for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And that takes some great talent evaluation. So Howie and whoever he's got under him, who said, go out and get this guy. It was brilliant. It was incredible. Howie's last offseason was as fantastic as anything I've ever seen by a roster creator, because that's what he is. He creates the roster. And it can't be this easy. I'm sure he's going to whiff. He whiffed on Bryce Huff, so he didn't get everyone right. But he got so many right that they won a championship.
Angelo, do you not agree the only thing the Yachtsman does right is the fact that he gives Roseman the latitude with that bag of money to front end these contracts so that they can decrease the value of the per season money? We're like, look at what he did. Look at what he did here the last 3 days. And this does go back to the Yachtsman. He may not do a lot of things right, but look at the last 3 days. You cut Slay, you get 4.3 in savings. You cut Bradbury, you get 2.1 in savings. And the contract, according to the NFLPA, with the contract extension that you gave to Barkley, created $15 million in cap space. Well, shit, there's your money for Zach Vaughn. I mean, I think they do this, Angelo. I think they spend a lot of money on the offense, but with that cap difference, that's where they spend the difference on the other side of the ball. And they take that cap difference and they utilize that difference by acquiring defensive football players. And I think that's their formula.
It is. And the Yachtsman, Jeff Lurie, the owner of the team, it's just my theory, Dan. I don't know this, but I feel that over the course, especially the last 5 years, he's butted in less with Howie. That he has finally come to the conclusion. I can tell you this unequivocally, Jeff Lurie doesn't know a good player from a bad player. Jeff Lurie is a billionaire who is not studying tape for 10 hours a day. He doesn't know squat. And if you listen to him talk for 5 minutes, you realize that he's a billionaire who is an owner of a team, but that's as far as it goes. That doesn't mean he didn't get involved before, but I don't think he is now. I think what you're seeing right now is, I think maybe the first Super Bowl convinced Lurie to step back and just let Howie do his job, because Howie owns. I don't know if Howie became a free agent, right? If Howie suddenly ran out of contract, Dan, you would have 31 other teams bidding to bring him in and do the same thing there, right?
Jets.
The Jets. Oh my God, the Jets. They ended up getting his lieutenant or his deputy, and that didn't work out. I'm telling you right now, Howie Roseman can write his own final chapters of his career. He could go anywhere. I hope he stays in Philadelphia, because the Eagles are going to be good as long as Howie's around. I really believe that now.
You think he's the greatest GM in Eagle history? I mean, in Philadelphia sports history?
Wow. Now that people will tell you Keith Allen was the architect of the Flyer championships of the 70s. He was not only a great GM, he was a brilliant communicator with everyone, including the media. He was absolutely fantastic. So I put Howie up in that category. Yeah, I think there aren't many others. I mean, Pat Gillick was a great GM in the era that the Phillies won, but they won one championship. So I don't know how much you want to say about that. He's in the pantheon now. Like, if you're doing a Mount Rushmore GMs, he's one of 4 for sure. And by the time he's done, given that the Eagles are the biggest thing in Philadelphia, he'll probably be regarded as the best GM we have ever had.
How about this? I'll ask you 2 more questions here. Angelo, you bring up the Flyers. That's kind of when I was a super young kid, and some of those teams, and I remember, again, the Flyers and the Islanders were some of the greatest rivalries of all time. And there was a buzz in the city where they didn't think Flyer hockey would ever work, but it became such an iconic team. That 73 to 77 team in that window when they won those 2 in the middle of those years there was so few teams that won cups. There was a buzz about the city, though, for that team. Is that what you're seeing now with this Eagle team? That there's just, like you said, I mean, your content, if you were putting your contact page together on your board, 90% of it would have to be Eagles, and it's not football season.
It would. And I would, before every show, I would use percentages on how much I wanted to talk about teams. And you're right. Right now, I'd probably go 75% Eagles in the off season.
Yeah.
They're so dominant. And I'd go maybe 2% or 1% on the Flyers, because they just don't register. And the only thing I do with the Sixers is attack their ownership and the GM and Joel Embiid and the travesty that organization has become. So there'd be plenty to rip there, but that's about it. And then the Phillies will get the rest of it. But baseball, I mean, the Phillies have a playoff team. So we're really waiting now till the end of September to see how they do when it matters. You know, I mean,
right. You know, I mean, the first 20 games of the year, you know, you're kind of like going back and forth on nothing. You want to get to kind of July 4th, and then you kind of know what you got.
You're right.
Finally here, you mentioned it. Do you think Joel Embiid will ever play another minute for the Sixers ever again? Will you ever see him in a uniform again, or do you think in the offseason they try some way to move on from him?
Well, they would at this point. I would like to believe they want to move on from him, but there's no way to, because these guys. This just tells you the insanity of Daryl Morey. They just tacked on 3 extra years. He's going to make in the final year when he's 34, totally broken down.
All guaranteed.
$64 million in one season. This year, he played 19 games. He made $2.6 million per game. Yeah, I wrote about this on my blog this week. The Joel Embiid era is over. Do you understand? The window is shut. They're never going to get a sniff of any championship for the process and all the tanking they did to get what amounted to Embiid, right? But they can't acknowledge it because they kept throwing more money at their mistake. Here's the problem with him. I had this term I used all the time when it's on the air. Joel Embiid has $1 million body and a 10-cent brain, all right? And that has been the problem from day one. He's a child, right? We found out a few years ago he drinks Shirley Temples like a little kid does, right? He is not wired like a Jason Tatum, like a winner. He's not wired that way. He's never going to be able to do that. Or even an Iverson. Iverson went out there and really, no, he doesn't have that. And the older he gets and the more injury prone he gets, the less inclined he is to even try. He's got enough money for 10 lifetimes. Yeah. They made sure of that. That, you know, we all thought Ben Simmons was the biggest problem of that process era because he stunk, right? No. Embiid was, because Embiid sponged in all this money. Didn't even get to an Eastern Conference final. So, yeah, he'll play again because no one will take him now for the amount of money he's got. 2 years ago when he was the NBA MVP, oh, you could have written a ticket for him. But no, they weren't going to do that because they were going to win championships here. Yeah, sure. What are they now, 20 games under 500? Oh, what a train wreck. No, he will never win here. He will play. I don't know how they're going to get to the back end of that deal. He can barely. I mean, even now, he can't stay on the court. It's a losing proposition, Dan. It's bad.
This guy is worse than Sam Bowie because you're paying him. I mean, hey, what you need now, Angelo, is Doge to go in there and clean up the Sixers for God's sake.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, Elon Musk. Let's get him on the sideline.
Hey, go in there and clean that thing up there. Angelo, it is always great. And by the way, you are a mentor of mine, and I'm so proud to be your friend. And thank you so much, my friend. I mean, you and your family.
I heard all this stuff, Dan. Now that I heard all this stuff about you, I'm not sure I want to be your mentor anymore.
Thank you, Angelo Cataldi. Thank you so much, my friend. You got it. That is the great Angelo Cataldi. That was so nice of him. Hey, Zander, screw the Fisher clip. I want that clip, what he said about Big Sills. I'm going to post that today because that was awesome. That's right. That's why me and him have very few friends in this business because you know when these people are always going to turn on you like that. That was great. By the way, don't forget, it is, you know, it's funny. And Zander asked me a question about the NCAA tournament the other day. You know how many Final Fours I've been to? 5. My wife even produced one of my Final Fours. I think when we went to Atlanta, I think Indiana got beat by Kansas that year when we were at Fox Sports Radio. And now with our friends at BetUS, the NCAA tournament is one of the best events, if not the second best event or third best event, probably the second best event in American sports. And our friends at BetUS with the YouTube 150, with all the tournament games coming up, how can you not be involved with our friends and how you can bet on every single game? You got signing bonuses up to $2K with the YouTube 150. Second and third are 125%. Crypto, if you're into it, is 200%. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sil sent you.